let me know if there's any information about service or an appearance by Mr. Weezer in this case.
No appearance by Mr. Weezer. I have tried to serve him at 2 different locations, and I've been told by the constable that people live there saying no, he's not here. He has been in contact with the caseworker, but he is reluctant to give us locating information.
Okay, so I will sustain you're not ready an announcement, Mr. Berger. In this section, you're going to have to seek a alternative service or substitute service on Mr. Weezer if you cannot get him personally served. Mr. Hilly?
Thomas Miller, Father Hernandez is here, present, ready to go.
Okay, and this
And Your Honor,
okay,
I'm sorry.
Come back to you, Mr. Grimberg. Mr. Crouch Bartlett.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tiffany Crouch Bartlett, attorney ad litem for all of the children.
Okay, Mr. Broomer, you had something else?
Just a request or for clarification. Not even that. Just would the court prefer that I not be part of this hearing as an observer? My inclination would be to say that I would stay as an observer for this hearing.
Yeah, you can stay because obviously when you meet with your client, you're going to have to be able to tell him what's been going on in his case. So please stay. Okay, the court does note we also have Mr. Martinez participating with us today, as well as Mr. Hernandez, and it appears that we have a box labeled as placement. Obviously, we have the Department of Family Protective Services participating with us today. Ms. Sexton, who would you like to call as a witness?
Amanda Swafford, thank you. Ms. Swafford, where are the boys currently placed?
The boys are placed with Noah's paternal grandparents.
And how are they doing in that placement?
I would say that Noah's doing very well there. He is very comfortable with his grandparents, had little to no issues adjusting. Jaden and Adrian did have some issues adjusting to the rules and boundaries of the placement. I know that the current placement has stated that she cannot care for Adrian and Jaden long term, as she has 2 of her other grandsons in the home. So in total, there are 5 boys in that home, and it's very hard for her to manage all 5 of them with all of their appointments regarding school, medical, dental, mental health, and sports activities. We did a home study on the great grandmother, but it did get denied. We reached out to a maternal uncle, and he does not feel that he would meet the requirements to be placement. So we have reached out to the parents' attorneys to see if there's anyone else that could be provided, as parents did not do the child resource forms. Obviously, Mr. Grimberger has trouble contacting his client, and I don't know if Mother has provided any additional relative options at this time.
Okay. And did the boys, all 3 of them, recently take psychological and psychiatric evaluations?
Yes.
Do you have the diagnoses for the psychiatric evaluations in front of you?
I do not have the psychiatric in front of me. I do have their psychologicals.
Okay. And did you read the psychiatric evaluations?
Yes, I did.
And was there a reference made to PTSD?
Yes.
And was there a reference made to domestic violence?
Yes.
Okay. So what help are we going to be getting the boys?
So the boys have started therapy with Rhonda Caffey. I believe they've had 2 sessions at this time. In addition to that, they will have the ongoing mental health support through Pathways. I believe they were recommended to return in 2 months. They want the placement to get some forms filled out by the school district and herself, just to see what behaviors she sees in the home, so that they can have more information for diagnoses of ADHD and what other supports they will recommend.
Okay. And as far as the last order that we had, both parents were asked to submit to nail tests. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And did both parents submit to nail test?
They did, but not on by the court ordered date.
Okay. And what were the results for Mr. Hernandez?
He was negative.
And what were the results for Ms. Martinez?
She was positive for meth and marijuana.
Okay. And did you happen to see Ms. Martinez in person last week?
I have not, but it's been reported to me that she has dyed her hair.
And what color were you told her hair was?
A purple color.
Yep. Okay, please pause for a minute. Ms. Martinez, turn your camera on, ma'am. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Sexton.
Thank you. And and so did you discuss with Ms. Martinez her positive drug test?
Yes, and I sent her the results.
Okay. And as far as you had mentioned earlier that you'd asked the parents have not submitted a child resource form. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you asking that the parents be ordered to do that?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as Mr. Weezer, we'll start with him. Have you actually had contact with him?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what type of contact have you had with him?
I've had contact with him via Facebook Messenger, email, text, and phone call.
Okay. Has he given you an address where he's staying so he can be served?
The first time he gave us an address in Pflugerville, which is the one I provided to you. When investigations went out there for a courtesy, they were informed he does not live there. Outside of that, I haven't been provided another address. And
May I say something?
No, ma'am, Ms. Martinez, you may not at this time. Go ahead.
I had asked him last month to meet me in person, and he did not respond to me. So at this point, I don't know exactly where he's living or where he's working.
Okay. And you have communicated with his attorney that we'd be willing to do a waiver of service. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so far we do not actually have a way to meet with him to have him sign paperwork. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Has a family plan of service been prepared for Mr. Weezer?
It has.
And have you discussed that with him?
I have not been able to discuss the family plan with him since the appointment of his attorney. He hasn't responded to my text messages. I mostly had contact with him prior to the adversary hearing. I did email him a copy of his family plan, but he did not respond.
Okay. And what services would we be asking Mr. Weezer to participate in?
Initiate face-to-face contact with the worker, maintain legal income, sign a release for CPS services, probation, education, medical, and mental health records, provide the department with a list of current and past mental health providers, complete a drug and alcohol assessment, and follow all recommendations. Once he completes his recommended OSAR service, we would want him to do protective parenting classes and follow all recommendations, participate in court-ordered parent-child visits, demonstrate behavioral changes that indicate a lifestyle change and ability to protect and provide adequately for his children and be able to express what he has learned. Not associate with any known criminals or engage in any criminal activity. If he were to come into contact with law enforcement, he would let us know within 48 hours and keep us up to date on any current or pending criminal cases. Submit to random drug tests within 8 hours of the department's request. Participate in a psychological evaluation and follow all recommendations. Participate in individual therapy to address any mental health needs. We currently have that he would do a BIP assessment, and if BIP recommended that he needed to complete the program, he would. But we are talking about seeing if that could be covered in individual therapy, or if his psychological recommends it, then he would do that service.
And you're asking that the family plan of service be ordered once he is served?
Yes.
Okay. And has a family plan of service been prepared for Patricia Martinez?
Yes, it has.
Has she signed that family plan of service?
She has not signed it, but I did provide her a copy via email.
What services are we asking her to do?
We are asking that she engage in individual therapy and follow all recommendations of the therapist. That she complete a drug and alcohol assessment and follow all recommendations. That she will initiate face-to-face contact with a CPS caseworker. At this time, we would ask that that be virtual. That she participate in all parent-child visits and confirm the day prior. In addition, follow the recommendations or policies regarding confirming with kids in touch. After she completes her recommended OSAR service, we would like her to engage in protective parenting and follow all recommendations. Submit to random drug screenings within 8 hours. We would ask that she not use any illegal drugs, alcohol, or prescription drugs not prescribed to her. Complete a psychological and follow all recommendations. Not associate with any known criminals or engage in any criminal activity. If she were to come into contact with law enforcement, she would let us know within 48 hours. That she maintain legal income. providing us copies of her pay stubs monthly, be able to provide safe housing for her family free of drug use or criminal activity, and allow us to visit the home as needed. If she were to move or change her phone number, she would let us know within 48 hours. Sign a release of information for department services, probation, education, medical and mental health records, and provide us a list of current and past mental health providers. She will demonstrate behavioral changes that indicate a lifestyle change and ability to protect and provide adequately for her children, and demonstrate the skills she has learned. And she will attend and participate in an approved batter's intervention program and follow all recommendations.
And has Ms. Martinez been able to start any of her services?
Yes, she has started individual therapy.
And is that with Tina Nunley?
Yes.
And are there any concerns on your part about what Ms. Martinez has told Ms. Dunley about her, about what she can talk about with her?
Yes.
I'm going to object to any hearsay.
Ms. Sexton, any response?
Did you, what you were told, were you told by Ms. Nunley as far as her concerns with Ms. Martinez's ability to be forthcoming?
Yes.
Okay. And so, and are you concerned that she is receiving advice not to be open and honest with her therapist?
I'm going to object to hearsay again.
Mr. Manuel, who is the
He just
hearsay
said,
directed at?
well, she just said that she heard this from Miss Nunley, and Miss Nunley is the therapist who's not here.
Ms. Sexton?
I'll re-ask the questions. Ms. Swafford, what are you concerned regarding the interaction between Dr. Nunley and Ms. Martinez in therapy?
That Ms. Martinez does not want to discuss the CPS case or anything.
Okay, this is a roundabout way of hearsay, so the section is staying. Move on to something else.
Okay. As far as Mr. Hernandez's family plan of service, what are we asking him to complete?
So his family plan is very similar to Ms. Martinez, with the addition that he will complete a psychiatric assessment and follow all recommendations, that he will complete an intake and an assessment with Bluebonnet Trails and for mental health case management and follow all recommendations of Bluebonnet Trails, as well as sign a release for them.
Okay. And are you asking for that to be made in order of the court?
Yes.
And has Mr. Hernandez done an intake with Bluebonnet like he was ordered to in the last hearing?
He was ordered to do a psychiatric assessment. He was not ordered to do an intake and assessment with Bluebonnet. He did.
Go ahead.
He did do his psychiatric assessment with Dr. Medina, and we do have those results.
And what were the recommendations from the psychiatric assessment?
That he needs outpatient psychiatric care to include individual therapy and continue random drug testing as per DFPS protocol, a combination of intensive short-term psychodynamic therapy as well as cognitive behavioral therapy with goals to improve communication skills, empathetic and assertive communication, and emotional regulation are strongly indicated. Couples therapy is also strongly indicated for this household. The department may consider a psychological evaluation if it suspects the existence of a pervasive personality disorder. To complete a robust series of parenting classes, which should include didactic elements of proper and safe home care and upkeeping, compliance with psychological treatment and indications to be made an ongoing contingency for eventual ongoing child home permanence.
And have you talked to Mr. Hernandez about doing an intake with Bluebonnet so that he can be prescribed medication?
We did at the beginning of the case. He does not want to be on medications, and he does not want to go to Bluebonnet Trails.
Okay, so that has not been done. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And has Ms. Martinez been having phone calls with the boys?
Yes.
And are those phone calls supervised or unsupervised?
They're unsupervised. The current placement is not willing to supervise her contact due to her aggressive nature at times towards them.
So does the department have concerns about her having unsupervised phone calls and texts with the boys?
Yes, we do.
And are we asking for an order that she not phone call or text the boys until further order of the court?
Correct, or just no contact that is unsupervised at this time.
Okay. And both parents right now have visitations through a third party. Is that correct? Like a kids exchange or something like that?
Yes,
And the department's paying for that. Is that correct?
yes.
And was there an issue with Mr. Hernandez missing his last visit?
So he did cancel his last visit the day before. The department was not charged for that visit, but moving forward, if the parents cancel their visit less than 48 hours prior to the visit, the department is responsible for that cost, unless of course someone is sick and documentation is provided. So we're asking that if the parents cancel their visit last minute, and if the department is charged for that, that they reimburse the department for that missed visit.
Now, if a parent is legitimately sick, what happens to the charge for the visit?
There wouldn't be a charge. We would just need to have documentation that they're sick, or be able to have some sort of proof that they are sick and it's not an excuse for another reason.
Okay. Is there anything else that the court needs to know about this case?
At this time, I don't believe so. I just know that I believe the ad litem is going to be requesting CASA, but I can't think of anything outside of that at the moment.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Manuel.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Swafford, you mentioned that the placement was with Noah's grandparents. Do you know whether or not they're willing to keep all three children?
They are wanting Jaden and Adrian to be placed outside of the home due to the number of children they have in their care. I do not know for sure how long they are willing to keep placement. At this time, we don't have any other relative options that have been provided to us.
Okay. And there has been a home study conducted on Miss Martinez's grandmother, correct?
Yes.
And why was that denied?
It was denied because Miss Marrero reports having to have her adult children come over to help care for her. Our
Okay.
concerns is that she's, sorry, did you say something?
Well, I was going to ask you, what specifically does she need help with? Is it just transportation or is it more?
They reported that, or at least.
Your Honor, I would ask that who's ever speaking to Miss Martinez not speak to her. There's a lady in the background that's speaking to her.
Miss Section, I'm watching. Go ahead, Mr. Manuel.
I just would like to know what the actual concerns are for what kind of help they need in their home.
So the adult children themselves report that they go over to the home to care and assist Miss Marrero and Mr. Marrero because she is old and is unable to do everything herself and needs assistance daily.
That's not true.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez, Miss Martinez, this is called testimony. You don't have to agree with all of it. A lot of times you're not going to agree to it, but it's still the sworn testimony. So don't shake your head. Don't talk out of turn. At some point, you may be called as a witness and you can provide whatever information you would like, but that's the nature of the process. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Swafford, is there any reason to believe that this maternal grandparents could not take care of these two children with the assistance of their family?
I believe they could with the assistance of their family. The problem is that the grandma, so Miss Martinez's mother, does not want to have a background check. And she reported that no one can stop her from going to her mother's house. With that is very concerning. Also, if great grandparents are the primary caregivers, they are the ones responsible for meeting the needs of the children. And if they can't meet the needs of themselves, I don't know how they can meet the needs of the children.
Okay. I understand it, but you did just say that you do believe that the family could potentially help out and keep these kids in that placement, correct?
I think that they could help out. But again, they would not be the primary caregivers. And we have one person that goes over there daily who is not wanting to cooperate with the department at this time.
Okay.
And so I can't run any background check. And I don't know how protective they will be given my interaction with them at the CPS office.
Who is that person?
That would be the great grandmother and the grandmother.
So it's the grandmother who is refusing the background check?
That is correct.
Accurate? Okay.
In addition,
What?
grandmother reported that the 20-year-old sister would be the backup caregiver.
Okay. What is the department's plan for these other children? Where you're going to place them?
We have asked that parents provide us with additional relatives. Unfortunately, I haven't been provided with that at this moment. We would be willing to do home studies on additional relatives, talk with the current placement to see how long she was willing to keep the other two boys. But at this time, we don't necessarily have a plan for them. We just have a lot of concerns with that home study.
So to be clear, right now, the only other option, if they're removed from their current placement, would be foster care.
At this time, unless parents could provide us with additional resources or names of other family members.
Okay. With these phone calls that you mentioned between Miss Martinez and the boys, have you asked the boys if they want to continue those phone calls?
I have not asked them.
Okay. Have you asked their therapist? You did mention they were in therapy, correct?
Yes.
Have you asked their therapist whether that would be detrimental to them or cause any sort of trauma if these phone calls were to be stopped?
I have not yet asked their therapist that.
Okay. We were here a week ago on the department's motion. How has your relationship with Miss Martinez been since then?
It has been the same.
Would you say that your relationship with her is strained?
Yes.
Do you think that this might be an appropriate case for the department to appoint a different caseworker that might have a different relationship with Ms. Martinez?
I do not know. I do not believe so. I think this will happen with any caseworker assigned to the case.
Okay. Judge, I have no further questions.
Mr. Grunberger.
Judge, I'm not participating in the hearing.
Okay. Mr. Hilly.
Do we know whether Ms. Hernandez has adequate housing to take care of all the 3 children he took care of for so long?
Just 1 second, Your Honor. I have my video off because my computer is going very slow and freezing.
Okay, that's fine.
I have not been to Mr. Hernandez's home myself. I don't believe the investigation worker had any concerns with the physical conditions of the home.
So since he was drug-free and since he's 100% in communication with you and he's basically non-offending, what's wrong with sending all of the 3 children together to his house today?
He is not non-defending. There is concerns for extreme domestic violence and untreated mental health and lack of protective capacities. I do not believe the children would be safe in his care at this time.
But isn't it true that he took good care of them financially, emotionally, in every other regard for their whole lives?
I would say no. The children have talked about extreme domestic violence and have diagnoses that support domestic violence and ongoing issues in the home that they are now having to work through therapy.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Crouch Bartlett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Swafford, is it true that Noah has expressed a strong desire repeatedly to remain in his current placement with his paternal grandparents?
Yes.
And further, Jade and Adrian have requested to be placed in their mother's care and not Mr. Hernandez. Is that correct?
Jaden has reported to me that he wants to be with Mr. Hernandez. Adrian has reported to me that he wants to be with his great grandma.
According to the psychiatric evaluations that the children just completed, do you have additional concerns about the extent of domestic violence and the diagnoses of post-traumatic stress disorder for at least 2 of the children?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Sexton.
Just briefly, Ms. Swafford, you had indicated as far as the concerns with the home study and the great grandmother, you mentioned both the great grandmother and the grandmother being at the original visit with Miss Martinez at the CPS office. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what was your concern about the grandmother and the great grandmother at the CPS office?
They didn't really feel the need for CPS involvement. They felt that all of this was ridiculous, and we were destroying their family and making rules that didn't need to be put in place.
I pass the witness.
Mr. Manuel.
No further questions of this witness, Judge.
Mr. Hilly.
No further question of this witness. Thank you.
And Ms. Crouch Bartlett.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Sexton, any other witnesses you wish to call?
No, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Manuel.
I will call Ms. Martinez briefly, Your Honor.
And Ms. Martinez, if you'll raise your right hand for me, so I can give you an oath, please. You swear the testimony you're going to provide in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. You may put your hand down. Go ahead, Mr. Manuel.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Martinez, first of all, do you have any other possible family that could take in the boys?
Just my grandmother.
Okay.
Is the best possible scenario.
Have you spoken with your grandmother? Is she willing to take in the boys?
Yes, sir.
And you heard the testimony that your grandmother's refusing a background check. Is that something that you think she would be willing to complete if you could talk to her?
No, that's my grandmother. It's my mom they're talking about.
Okay.
But my mom's willing to stay away from the home if the boys do come.
Okay. And you heard the testimony that your grandmother needs assistance. Do you believe that's true?
No, sir.
What kind of assistance is she getting, if any, right now that you're aware of?
Just like a ride, because my grandpa, he works at a private school. So, when he's not available, my mom gives her a ride, or she gets a ride for my daughter. Other than that, she's more than capable to take care of herself and the children.
Okay, so it's your understanding that the only help she might need would be for transportation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Regarding the phone calls with your boys, how frequently are you speaking with them?
Daily. I asked them how school was, how they're doing, if they ate. I don't want them to think I forgot about them. I'm pretty sure I know they're going through it and it's hard for them just as much as it's hard for me. So I talk to them on a daily to make sure they're okay.
Okay. And you understand that you're not allowed to talk about this case with them, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you believe that stopping phone communication with them would be harmful to them?
Yes. Yes. I don't want them to think that I forgot about them. I love them with all my heart.
And are you asking the court today to allow you to continue to have those daily phone contacts?
Yes.
Regarding your relationship with Ms. Swafford, we were here a week ago for a hearing. and you heard the testimony about the incident that happened, and you were there. So I would just ask you, how has your relationship been with Miss Wofford since then?
I would say it's poor because I try to contact her, she won't answer. I don't get notifications about my son's appointments or anything. I'm not aware of anything with my sons. She did tell me she cannot talk to me for me to talk to my attorney, and just she doesn't answer my phone calls. So I feel like there's no communication.
Okay. And are you asking the court today to ask for a new caseworker from the department on this case?
And Mr.
Yes, sir.
Manuel, I don't order new caseworkers. That's the department's business.
Yes, Your Honor. Is there anything else that you would like to add today, Ms. Martinez?
Yes, I would like to add that I did not dye my hair purple. I feel like I'm being sabotaged, and I am willing to do any classes and anything I can do to get my children back, or if they don't want them with me, at least with my grandmother.
Real quick, regarding your hair, you did a nail scrape. Would you be willing to go in and do a hair follicle as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No further questions, Judge.
So, Miss Martinez, why is it your mother does not want to have a background check?
I'm not sure. It's to be honest, Miss Amanda has dig into even our deceased family members, and I feel that's not necessary.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, I want you to answer my question, not the one you want to answer. My question. My question is, why does your mother not want to have a background check? Does she have CPS or criminal history that you're aware of?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Judge. I can't speak for her. I'm not sure.
Okay, Mr. Hilly, do you have any questions for Ms. Martinez?
I do not, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Crouch Bartlett?
Apologize, Your Honor. Ms. Martinez, when was the last time you used methamphetamines?
I do not use.
Are you aware that you tested positive on a recent nail scrape?
I'm aware, but I do not use. That's why I'm willing to go again and get my hair or whatsoever done, because there's no possible way. I actually got assaulted at work, and I suffered from 2 black eyes, a broken nose, and 2 concussions. And I did go to the hospital. I was on pain medication, and I just think it's odd that none of the medication is shown on the test. So I believe it's not my test, because there's no way in shape or form.
What is the current nature of your relationship with Mr. Hernandez?
Co-parenting, that's it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Sexton?
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, the woman that appeared behind you in the screen, is that your mom?
That's my grandmother.
That's your grandmother. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you at her house right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you had indicated, it's our understanding that your mom goes over to her house pretty frequently to either visit or help out.
Not as freaking as you think. That's her mother. So she comes and sees my grandmother, just to see, that's her mom. So
Okay.
That's it.
And your grandma is 78, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your
And
grandpa,
strong.
what?
I said, and strong.
Okay. And your grandpa is 83, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your mom,
He's still working currently at a school. So yeah.
and your mom, I'm sorry, your grandma doesn't have a driver's license, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Karina, your daughter, sometimes helps out with your grandma, correct?
She doesn't help. She just comes and visits as well. My
Okay.
grandma's more than capable. She takes care of her home.
Okay. Does Karina provide any transportation for your grandmother?
No.
And as far as your mom, I know you said you don't know if she has any criminal or CPS history, but have you
No,
asked?
I would not speak right now of my mother, because she's not here to defend herself. So
Well, I guess what I'm asking you, I'm asking you, what do you know about her background that would be a concern?
I couldn't tell you that. I don't know.
So you don't know why she's refusing to have CPS do a background check on her?
No, ma'am, I don't know.
Do you recall having CPS called out to your house when you were a child?
No, ma'am.
Do you ever recall your mom being arrested when you were a child?
No, ma'am.
I pass the
I
witness.
would like to briefly call Mr. Hernandez, please.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez, if you raise your right hand for me, please. You swear the testimony you're going to provide in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hilly.
You heard that they want you to do a lot of services. Do you agree with that? And if not, what services do you agree to do?
I agree to do anything to get all my kids back. I believe that I'm more capable of providing for them as I have been for the last 10 or 11 years, you know?
And you understand that they were asking you to sign some things and do some things that you refused, but now you're willing to do it all?
I think I've already signed and submitted all the paperwork they've asked.
As to placement, what are your wishes today?
I would like all the children to either be placed with Ms. Monroe or myself, you know, being that I'm more than capable of handling them. I raised them all their life. I'm their father. The other guy has never been in the picture, you know, and he's continued not to be in the picture for all this long, you know.
As to visits, what are you requesting today?
As the visits, I think we've already resolved that, you know. I don't know if you're talking about the weekend visits or as far as for my children. I mean, I would like for myself and my wife to be able to have communication and contact with the children, being as if we're no threat to the children, you know. I mean, we're the mother and father and we love our kids.
And do you have any other requests for this court today?
That they take into consideration that the children, if they find no placement with Ms. Marrero or anybody that return to me here, I have more than enough room. You know, I am capable of providing and caring for these children.
And who else lives with you?
No one.
So in other words, there's no possibility of any kind of domestic violence, is there? If there's no one else around you other than the children?
There's no one here.
Exactly. Thank you. I pass the witness.
Mr. Crouch-Bartlett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hernandez, are you aware that your son Noah was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety disorder?
I'm unaware of anything that goes on with the children because y'all said that we have no contact with them. Nobody gives us communication. Our caseworker doesn't respond to us. And if she does this last moment thing, it's for everything. Everything is last moment. I am, requesting that the department, change our caseworker and give us somebody that can be responsive and communicative with us. Other than that, I mean, there's no contact, and just but through text, she won't pick up the phone. And if we do have contact, it's only through text, you know. And that's just rare. That's only, hey, I need you to do this or I need you to do that or something has changed. And I mean, I'm having y'all, know that things can't be placed, on last moment notice. I have other things that they're going on that I have to maintain my financial support. I started a little business here, landscaping. I'm working for myself. I believe.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Okay, we'll ask another question, Ms. Bartlett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, if you were informed and were provided a copy of your children, Mr. Noah's psychiatric evaluation, which indicates that he does have post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety disorder, would you be concerned about that, sir?
Yes, I would, heavily.
Okay.
I believe
and
something
do you
going on
think
right.
that
Okay, listen, hold on a minute, Ms. Bartlett. Okay, Mr. Hernandez, here's the thing. Don't interrupt Ms. Bartlett when she's speaking, and she's going to do the same thing for you. She's not going to interrupt you. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Bartlett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hernandez, do you think it's important for your son Noah's desires and wishes, which are to remain in the home of his paternal grandparents, should be considered not only because he's 8 years old, but also because he has been diagnosed with some serious conditions?
I think that the child should return to his father and his mother. I think that I am concerned about what's going on, that we can, receive help for him like that. I believe the department has a lot to do with this. I believe that he's a minor and he has no right to make decisions for himself right now. I'm his mother. I'm his father, and she's his mother. He needs to return back to us.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Sexton.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, you said that you live by yourself right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you have a brother named Jason?
Yes, I do.
Doesn't Jason reside with you?
He no longer resides with me.
When did he move out?
About a week ago.
About a week ago? Okay. And why was your brother living with you?
Why was he living with me? Because he's my brother and he needed somewhere to stay, so I was helping him out.
Okay. And he actually has an assault. He was arrested for assault this year or last year. Is that correct?
Actually, that is getting dismissed. That right there was a false accusation there. That has nothing to do with what's going on with the case.
Okay. And as far as Mr. Hernandez, you were pretty upfront with us, at that last hearing about medication that you've been on and that you're no longer on. Is it your intention in this case then not to ever be on any kind of medication again?
I think that I'm sane by myself. I'm capable of doing everything. I work. I provide for my family. I live a normal life. I have no need for the medication right now. At all.
Okay, so if there is any sort of recommendation that you take medication, you would be opposed to that. Is that correct?
No, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but your recommendations are constantly trying to force me to take some kind of, medications that I feel that I don't need.
Okay. I pass the witness.
Okay, Ms. Krause-Bartlett, do you have a report request for the department or for the court today?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I have great concerns, Your Honor, about the extent of the domestic violence that occurred between the parents in this case, particularly based on the psychiatric evaluations that my clients just engaged in. We received a copy from Ms. Swafford of those evaluations yesterday. Both Noah and Adrian have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety disorder. They both expressed severe domestic violence between these parents. I also would like the court to be aware that I think it's really important that CASA is appointed in this case as guardian ad litem for all three of the boys. I believe CASA has read the affidavit and is watching this hearing today and is familiar with some of the background and issues surrounding this case. Noah has clearly expressed on numerous occasions that he wishes to remain with his grandparents, with his paternal grandparents. Adrian has expressed repeatedly to me that he wishes to be returned to his mother's care, and Jaden just indicated on his psychiatric evaluation, which I think is important for the court to consider, that he be placed with his mother and not to change schools. And so for a number of reasons, I think it's important that CASA be appointed to represent the children's best interests. I think that there needs to be a lot of domestic violence counseling programs engaged in by both parents in this case. And I would also ask that the court order that if the boys do not wish to engage in any phone conversations or visits with Mr. Hernandez or their mother, that their wishes be honored, and that, in other words, that they be allowed to opt out. I also would just like to express how incredibly efficient and communicative Ms. Swafford has been with me, with the family, and in providing all the information, that she's been doing a remarkable job. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hilly, anything on behalf of your client, Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. We are asking for him to get placement if we can't place with anybody else in the alternative. We also asked on his behalf that somebody go and check out his home.
Hey, Mr. Hilly, I can't understand you, sir. You're breaking up. You need to move.
Oh, let me go to the window over here in the courthouse. Can you hear me now, Your Honor?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, we are asking for placement with my client, and also we are asking for him, if that's not possible, to get as much visit as possible with all the children, even the ones he's not biological father to. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Manuel.
Yes, Your Honor. My client would definitely like to have the home study reassessed. As you heard today, her mother would be willing to stay away from the home, and there was testimony that the family could help out. She believes that it's only a transportation issue and that can be resolved. She would also request that the phone calls with the boys continue. Obviously, unless the children don't want to have those calls, or unless there's a therapist recommendation to stop those phone calls, we would ask that they continue.
Ms. Sexton.
Thank you. I just would like it noted, and I think that there would not be an attorney here that would disagree, that Ms. Swafford, as soon as she gets any documentation, sends it out to all the attorneys in this case. So I don't think there is any, I don't think that if there is a communication issue, it is definitely not with her. As far as Mr. Hernandez visiting more than Noah, you had asked, Your Honor, or you had ordered at the last hearing that it just be Noah. And we'd ask for that to continue. I understand Mr. Hernandez has got work, but he did miss that last visit. And so we'd like to see some more stability in visits. And we do want the parents to be responsible for paying if they can't show that they were sick enough to go to a doctor. In addition, Your Honor, I would like the parents ordered to do the child placement resource form. These are big families, and I think if we shake the tree a little bit more, we'd be able to find people that we could put the older boys with, and I think that would be helpful. Nobody wants to put these boys in foster care, but it's our understanding that the current placement is not going to last a whole lot longer. And as far as the phone calls, Your Honor, fortunately, the paternal grandparents are not willing to supervise. And since Ms. Martinez does not have unsupervised visits, we'd ask that she not have unsupervised phone contact.
Okay, the court enters the following orders today. First, the court does order that CASA be appointed as the guardian ad litem in this case if they have a volunteer available. Ms. Crouch-Bartlett will remain on as the attorney ad litem for all three children the subject of this suit. The court does continue the placement of all three children at this time with Noah's paternal grandparents. If there needs to be an emergency change in placement, please let us know. We'll try to get you on the docket as quickly as possible if necessary to discuss placement. I would like to think that as a group, you could have an agreement as to placement without coming back to court. If that's not possible, let us know. We'll get you on as quickly as possible, including potentially same day if need be. The court today is entering a pre-trial scheduling order and a discovery control plan. As to our future hearings, we're currently set for an initial permanency hearing on June 8th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. We are set for our second permanency hearing on September 28th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. And if necessary, there'll be a trial on the merits in this case on November 30th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Please be looking for that written pre-trial schedule. As to the plans of service, the court does order the plans of service for Ms. Martinez and Mr. Hernandez in this case. As to Mr. Weezer, we need to get him served or entered into this case before the court orders a plan of service for him. As to Ms. Martinez's contact with the boys, that contact is to be supervised. I didn't realize that there was any unsupervised contact before coming back to court today. That is the court's orders unless the child advocates agree otherwise. As to the visits, those visits are to be confirmed. If they're canceled within 48 hours without good reason, that will result in the parents' loss of their next visit. I think that's a big enough punishment for not canceling your visits. You have visitation with your children for a purpose. That is to maintain a bond with them. If you find better things to do other than show up to a visit, obviously your children are not a priority in your life. My expectation is you go to each and every visitation with your children, period. Right now, I do not want the children separated. I think they've been through some traumatic events, especially with the recent psychological diagnosis of the children. It is my current order to keep all three children together in one placement. Okay, all communication between the Department of Family and Protective Services and Ms. Martinez and Mr. Hernandez is to be in writing. That's either to be by text message or email. There needs to be a chain and a thread so that everybody knows what's being discussed in this case. Obviously, if the department provides documentation to the attorneys in this case, it's their responsibility to provide that to their clients. It's my expectation that you will, in fact, provide any information to your clients from the department. As to the current request for a home study be done on, I guess it would be the children's great grandparents, Miss Martinez's great mother. We don't safety plan potential placements. Okay? If they are not able to care for the children, we don't band-aid those things to make them in a position where they can take care of the children. You know, I cannot in good conscience place children with people that can't drive. Like if you cannot drive, you cannot get to kids to the emergency room. You can't get them to all their appointments. You can't do all sorts of things. So we need to make sure that we have a potential placement. They're going to be moved. We need to be able to locate a placement that can take care of all the children's needs. All right, so Ms. Martinez, Mr. Hernandez, we are now 49 days into your case. You need to start taking responsibility for how your family got to the courthouse. The Department of Family and Protective Services is not at fault for why your children got here, nor are the attorneys and nor is the court. You need to take responsibility today. Because if you don't make changes in your life that provide permanency and safety for your children, they will not be returned to you, period. So today is the day, whether you need to show up to your classes, whether you need to engage, or whether you just need to have a complete attitude adjustment. Today's the day. You need to make those changes, admit that you need to make changes for your children, and get it done. As long as you keep showing up to court saying it's not my fault, it's CPS's fault. CPS is making my children's lives miserable. I didn't do anything. I don't need any help. Your children will not be returned to you. It's that simple. We didn't put your children in the position. You did. Make the changes so they can be returned to you. And if you don't make the changes, then let your attorneys know where you want them to live because they're not coming back. Our next hearing in this case will be on June 8th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. Again, June 8th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. That will be our halfway point in the case. It's my expectation that you're done with many of your services. I don't expect that you'll be done with all of them, but you need to be done with as many of them as possible. And it is not just about checking boxes and doing the services. It's about learning from the services and making changes in your daily life. And remember, all decisions that you make in your life, you need to consider what impact, if any, it would have on your children. If your decisions would not be in your children's best interest, then make a different decision. You are parents at this point. All decisions that you make have a big impact on your children. If they're not good for your children, they're not good for you. We'll see you back on June 8th, 2023 at 9:30.
Your Honor, I just have a clarification on one of your orders. You said that all communication between the parents and CPS will be in writing. Amanda's monthly contact with the parents is normally done in person. So what would be your order regarding that?
Well, if the department wants to meet with them in person, I'll allow that. But I think this is a case that's going to be really important to document what information is provided to the parents and what's not.
Okay, so that is, actually a virtual video call. So is there some particular way you would want us to document that?
Yeah, record it.
Okay.
Get on Zoom or virtual, record it. That way everybody knows what was discussed. The
Okay,
parents can get it, the attorneys can get it, everybody can get it.
okay.
Okay, any other issues we need to take up today? Okay, thank
No,
you,
you-
everybody. You may be excused.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Your Honor.
Judge.
Thank you.